to 5 questions with 5 notable women in South Florida's construction industry. This is a 5-part series being produced for Women in Construction Week 2022. My name is Deborah Hampton. I am the Risk and Safety Director for Current Builders. I'm also the first Vice President for the South Florida Associated General Contractors of America. And in 2 years, I will be the first female president of the South Florida AGC. It is an honor for me to host this interview series with these noteworthy women. The goal of Women in Construction Week is to highlight women as a viable component in the construction industry. But most importantly, we hope it encourages other young women out there to become part of our vibrant industry. We are so pleased today to have Jessica Quintana with us. Jessica is a senior project manager with Balfour Beatty, which is a South Florida AGC member. So with that, I'm going to start asking Jessica a few questions about how she became a senior manager and her background. Jessica, obviously a senior manager is a prestigious position. How did you get there? You obviously had to climb up a ladder.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be interviewed by AGC. Really appreciate it today. It started out as very simple. Right out of high school, actually, it was a part-time. I was working with a roofing company. And long story, not to bore you too much with it, but I basically was administrative. And I was told one of those, it was while I was working there for about 9 months or so, I was told I needed to meet an inspector out on a site. And unbeknownst to me, I was performing a roofing core with the inspector on site. And literally that was an aha moment for me, which basically told me, I can do this. This is extremely challenging. There's not a lot of women in this industry. Let's do it. So fast forward from there, I worked with various trades, drywall. I worked in an architecture firm, engineering firm, and started to kind of move my way through pivot, through my career, and eventually ended up with GC with Kaufman Lynn. And that's where I pretty much saw that was going to be my niche, was the commercial general contracting industry. And from there, fast forward, here I am, a female in this industry, in this ever challenging, amazing industry that is ever evolving on a daily basis. Nothing is ever the same on the job sites in particular. But that's kind of where I'm at.
That's great. Now, a senior manager is such a challenging position. But for the folks out there that might not be familiar of what a senior project manager does on a day-to-day basis, would you like to kind of fill us in on that?
Sure. We wear many hats, many. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's very evolving on a day-to-day basis. No day is the same whatsoever. Everything's a fire drill. So we, with regards to my position here at Balfour Beatty, basically I am on site. I have a wonderful team of, I have 2 APMs. I have 3 superintendents, looking to add more staff. Eventually, we're currently doing a 44-story high-rise in downtown Fort Lauderdale, which is phenomenal because it's, Balfour Beatty's hasn't had their presence here in Fort Lauderdale in the last 26 years, 25 years. Wow. And it's prestigious in that regard. And I am in charge of financials. I am in charge of leading this team on a day-to-day basis to in the right direction, scheduling wise, budgeting, etc. Basically, my biggest role that I'm most proud of is leading the team, being their leader. And it's I'm fortunate that I have an A team on this project job site, which we all know sometimes that's not the case. But definitely can say with the utmost pride, that's one of the proudest things that I have currently on this job site with Balfour Beatty.
That's fantastic. Now, you went to school for construction specifically, correct?
I did. I sure did.
So just out of curiosity, because construction isn't usually something that springs to women's minds when they're deciding on a career, what influenced you to go into construction?
So when I was working with the different trades, with the drywall, roofing, and the architectural firm and all that, I was at the time living in Miami, and I had lots of friends that were going to FIU, and they were like, why don't you consider, going to school? I was at the time I was working full time. I was on my own at an early age. School wasn't necessarily an option right out of high school, but I said, you know what, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Let me look into it. And sure enough, proud Panther here, went to FIU with a phenomenal school. And it was challenging from the beginning, the thought of, you know what, I need to get that piece of paper so that I could be, up against others similar to me, in particular being a female in this industry. So that's what made me do that. And I knew from the moment that I did that roofing core to fast forward today that it has always been my drive, my passion to do this. As crazy as it sounds, because there's days where I say I'm masochist, but I love it. I'm extremely passionate of it. I love the whole inception to completion, leaving my footprint. In particular, here in the downtown Fort Lauderdale area, I've done over 7 to 8 jobs here in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and it's been an honor to know that I've had a hand in that building. I've done that building. I completed that building, and the clients in the downtown Fort Lauderdale area.
Congratulations. Well, that's a legacy in and of itself.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to touch on something that you mentioned. You mentioned challenges. I want to talk a little bit about maybe some challenges that you've had to encounter throughout your career in construction. And obviously we talked a little bit about the climb up the ladder. And do you think any of those challenges would have been different if you were a man? So it's kind
Absolutely.
of a question.
Absolutely. I started out pretty young in this industry, and had those two things going. I was young and I was a female. I felt I worked early on with the older generation general superintendents. And yes, it's extremely challenging because the thought process, unfortunately, is at times, not always, I mean, we've gotten a lot better, but is, she's too young. She's a chick. She doesn't really know what she's doing. She just came out of school. She has no clue. I've been doing this for 30 plus years, 40 plus years. So, but something that I have learned, I learned very early on is in order to, respect is earned. So, I would often, see myself and get frustrated and say, well, how come, they're doing this differently, or this is not, necessarily being communicated back, or what have you. I would always let my voice be heard, and I commanded respect because I worked my butt off. And if my superintendents were doing a concrete pour at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was there in the trenches with them. So it's that kind of thing where, again, respect is earned. It's, she can do it too. And I have done it. I've been at those 4 a.m. concrete pours, and I would never, one of the things I've always done is I always lead by example. I would never ask my supers, my teams, staff on the job to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So that's a big thing for me. And so, yes, it has been extremely challenging, but can we overcome it? Have we gotten better? 100%. And I think it's only getting better with the different generations coming into the industry.
Great. Well, and for our last question, I actually want to touch on that. So a lot of women, even today, don't necessarily think about construction as a career choice. What would you tell young women today that might persuade them to go into construction, and a little bit about the opportunities that our industry offers?
The challenges themselves. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't make you better. It builds thick skin. And as women in this industry or in general, we need that. We need that thick skin because as an employee, as a person, it makes you a better person. So I think mentorship is a big thing. A lot of women that I've talked to in general, like whether it's high school or I recently spoke at my niece's school in Homestead, and they have no idea that this is a place for them because of the site conditions, constraints, the knowing that it's male dominated. It's a little intimidating, you know, but it's all about encouragement, empowering, we can do anything that we put our mind to, that we want to. It's a phenomenal industry with, amazing challenges that make you better at the end of the day. And it's for me, it's been a team building environment where you're able to structure, mold to what you want it to be on job sites in particular. So it's interesting in that aspect.
Well, I would definitely agree with all of the challenges that exist out there. There was something that you had mentioned to me in another discussion that you and I had that I thought that just as kind of a tack onto this as a great closure, you were very proud of the fact that Balfour Beatty does actually do a lot for women in construction. Would you like to kind of close with a few comments about what your company is doing in that regard?
Absolutely. We have an affinity group called WEB, Women Excelling Balfour Beatty. And it's, I just joined Balfour Beatty approximately 8 months ago. And I just joined the group recently. So we went to our first event, which was sponsored by Milwaukee, out at the Broward Convention Center, which is one of our projects also. And we invited women to come in and, use the tools, which a lot of women, especially if they're, administrative or project accountants or what have you, aren't usually exposed to that. So we invited the group to meet us out there, and they used all the tools that Milwaukee brought out there. And it was a really neat experience because they, everybody's all excited and it's like, oh, I could do this. I could put the gloves and the goggles and what have you. So those are things that we're doing. And I believe they're putting together something now to happen next month also with the younger girls to get them involved in the community with, Habitat for Humanity, etc. So it's a really neat affinity group that I'm really, really honored to be involved in, and looking forward to the next, sessions that we have and with young girls and females currently in the industry. We also have a lot of guest speakers that execs with other companies that we asked to host. So it's pretty neat. It's really neat.
Thank you. That's fantastic, because it's nice to see how it's also raising awareness for women to see all of these different aspects of opportunities in the construction industry. Sure. Well, I'm afraid that our time is pretty much up right now. I've enjoyed every minute of it. And honestly, I think that you have done a phenomenal job with your career and are an exemplary, you set the bar very high for women in construction. So it was an honor meeting with you today.
Likewise, pleasure was mine, and congratulations on being the first female.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.